Beachwood is considering expanding its emergency dispatch center and sharing it with neighboring communities, including Cleveland Heights, Shaker Heights, and South Euclid. What do you think of this plan and regionalization efforts in general? And we'll start with Martin.
Well, I support regionalization. It's interesting you asked the question now because we just had a meeting on this, and I just saw the agenda, and Tuesday this will be coming up for a vote. I think that we were all very excited about the idea of regionalization and the idea that we would be hosting the center. I don't know what the status is of those discussions at this point. We just had a meeting amongst our council that to discuss the need for replacing our own equipment, and there's definitely a need to replace our equipment. I don't question that, and I don't question what the chief reported to us. I think there's two issues. I think we have to know before we do something on our own, I think we have to know what the status is of the meetings with the other cities. And I think we also have to know if that arrangement is not going to take place with the other 4 cities, which I'm getting the feeling it is not, because that's the way it was reported back to us at our last meeting, then I think we have to look and see the cost benefit and the service value of possibly merging with another center that's already up and running.
Barbara? I agree with that. I'm not privy to some of those conversations about what's gone on in the past, but I know I've talked to Marty about why do we need, what's the urgency? They were, they were considering having $1.4 million adding to the center, and I asked, what was the emergency? Why not wait and see what happens in terms of the collaboration with other cities, or see what the county decides to do? He said our services, we were in desperate need of improving that, which raised the issue as to why are we waiting till the last minute? Should we be doing something under so that kind of deadline when we don't have to? Maybe it wasn't forward thinking enough when we had the dispatch center, that we're making some of these decisions under the gun instead of in a well thought out, orderly manner.
Okay. Brian?
I agree with Barbara. It's unfortunate these things pop up and they become really urgent things that you have to rush to a decision on. This is certainly something that requires some thoughtful thought, planning, understanding the different options. I am not aware of the specifics of the equipment or what's necessitated. I mean, it may be something that came up unexpected, so I'll leave that out there. That's a possibility. But I've heard some different plans. I heard that it was going to be built in a fire station at one point, and now I hear it's part of the old service building or City Hall or where the existing dispatch is. It strikes me that it's a moving target, and we need a little bit more detail, a little bit more information about what to expect. And as long as it's not something that really is critical that happens today, if it means wait a few months and get some more information, it's probably worth it.
Okay. Michael?
But one more comment, sorry. While there are certain things that I do support with regionalism and I think are a good thing, a dispatch center for the police and fire, I kind of like the feeling of having that in Beachwood. I like the idea of when I call those people, they know the streets I'm talking about if I need them. I don't know the extent of how the other options work out. We've absorbed another city, Pepper Pike, and it seemed to work out well. But there's a certain point when you're losing a level of service when you become this huge provider. So, at the heart of it, services to the residents can't suffer.
Okay, Michael.
Well, I tend to be a strong supporter of regionalism, and sharing services is really what's at the heart of it, where you can get some economies of scale. I like the wait and see approach that Martin espouses. I think it's prudent to make sure that we're in a position to move forward with that in an appropriate way. To know that those other cities are going to come in and join us. But I think the dispatch center is just one example of an area where we could work more cooperatively and on a more regionalized basis with our neighboring cities. There's other opportunities in terms of recreation, in terms of streets, and I know we're doing things with the traffic lights. There's a whole host of other things that we could do with other communities, and it's not just us having a dispatch center.
Okay. Mark?
Thank you. Again, this is one of the exceptional services that we have provided, which is an up-to-date service, up-to-date dispatch center, which, as you noted, is already, we're taking over the work for Pepper Pike and working with them as well. This is not a rushed project. This is something that has been studied for a long, long time. Our current equipment needs to be replaced to bring it up to date to maintain the exceptional services that everybody has come to expect. We are looking, as everyone has suggested, to other municipalities and to best practices and to a design that's going to be able to accommodate not just Beachwood, but should we choose to do it, to regionalize it and bring in other communities. There was a plan underway, and other communities had to cooperate in order to be able to do it. County funding was going to be involved, and that may yet happen. But in the meantime, we need to serve the city of Beachwood with the best services possible.
Okay, Justin?
Well, I'm a proponent of regionalism if it's done properly and in the right circumstances. I don't know, as I mentioned earlier, I was a volunteer firefighter for 12 years. Occasionally, I spent some time in the dispatch center. I really like the idea that our dispatchers and our police officers, our firefighters, really knew one another. And our dispatchers know the layout of our streets and what patrol car to dispatch to a street immediately. Things are different now. That was a long time ago when I was a volunteer firefighter, and there's more sophistication. Nonetheless, I don't know that enough about this, or what's been discussed with council, but it's worked out well with Pepper Pike. That's another small suburb, and we can work well together. As far as regionalism goes and other ways to expand it, I believe that there are areas, and I believe that merging fire departments may be one area. This is very expensive equipment, we all know. A fire engine is $600,000, $700,000. They are used seldomly. I believe that if they're based in the right areas, that may be a place to save funds with our neighboring communities. I don't know that dispatch right now is the place to go, but it might be.
Okay, thanks. Does anyone have anything to add about that? Martin?
Well, just one thing. If we go and spend the money we're spending $1 million for, if we can somehow work out our whatever issues need to be worked out so we can work with 4 other cities, there's a very good possibility the funding is there through the county. And I would really like to see us look at that before we make the commitment. I'm not a believer in the theory, if you build it, they will come, okay? Because I think what's going to happen, we already have the Chagrin Valley Center, and there's a couple other centers online or almost online. And eventually you're going to find most cities are going to be in a group with the dispatch center, and somehow we're going to be sitting with our own dispatch center that we're going to have to continuously pay upgrades and everything else. And that particular area is a perfect example of good use of regionalization. And I think we really need to explore this a little further.
Okay, anyone else?